it is actually, I mean, when I'm training spirituality as a natural evolution, not as a something supernatural. Okay, the person who is a master, he has gone through certain stages of life in terms of spiritual, mental, psychological, physical. He has gone through. So in that he has understood certain thing and he has come to certain clarity about life. That's what his relation is about. If you have come to a real clarity where you are no longer seeking anything, it may be I'm not saying you have reached the dead end of your search, and you are a very sensitive being where you are not compromised with yourself, what you have found. It's like a scientist, right? You can always have a bogus finding or you can have something like this. So yes, with his genuine search, he has come to a certain conclusion. I don't say it's final truth or whatever is that. It's ultimately to his satisfaction. He has answered some deeper questions of life. So now this is what is relationship about for me. Some you have come to a stage, you are no longer any questions or doubts about life. You have come to a conclusion, a clarity, whatever clarity. People can get stuck to the clarity at any level, right? So a very sensitive, a deep search for truth will lead to certain level of clarity in you. That is called a realization. And beyond that, you don't have any questions to reach that. Now, such a person is what I call realized person. And his conclusion may be anything. His conclusion means there is no God. His conclusion, no Atma, whatever is that. Ultimately, for him,
that is the truth. Yeah.
That is the truth. And he has no questions about that. I am speaking not about belief. There are a lot of people who have belief systems. Now, this guy has done really his own inquiry. He has come to his own clarity. And he has taken the best of the inputs available. And he is genuine, not a biased search. And with that, he has come to reach a certain level of clarity in life. Now, that I consider as a realized person. Some realization. Okay, whatever is that. Right? Now, this is God realized, this is Brahman realized. I am not making the distinction. He has reached a stage of mind, a peace state. And nobody else is judge for that. Nobody else can judge. Now, that person may have certain skills in life or may not have some skills in life. A skill which is required for teaching others can only qualify as somebody, a guru, a sadguru, a master. A person who doesn't have skill but has realized certain level, can be a saint. People come to him, do some puja or this thing, and he blesses. Then the people feel comfortable and they go back. Okay, and there is some group or organization can build around that person in terms of prayers, bhajans, and gives a good environment. And some guidelines are there for the people to evolve. Okay, that is a person, typically saint. But a Sadguru is a much more precise surgeon. Okay, he is not focused on the superficial. He gets to the core questions very sharply, quickly. He is able to teach, guide, and make the student understand the deeper aspects of life in a very sharp way. In addition to realization, this requires skills. Skill is not a part of enlightenment. Skill is what you acquired during your course of life. Such a person becomes a Sadguru, somebody who can guide. Okay. And that skill is rare and few. Not all the people possess that skill. Many of the skills which people possess are through what you call as reading and listening to scriptures and some traditional teaching. To think very clearly beyond the framework and to be able to communicate, to be able to guide, that's a skill which is required by Sadguru. Now, the skill is not a part of enlightenment. Skill is what you acquired in life. Enlightenment is where you get a clarity. So, they combine these two and guide others is the ability of Sadguru. Now, why he guides others is for two reasons. The first reason is very simple. He has attained certain stage of life and somebody else is struggling. So he gives a helping hand so that he crosses that stage. Second thing is also curiosity. He has experienced some, in this n-dimensional matrix I saw, right? The matrix is Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, right? Then Grahastha, Vanapastha, Sannyasa, Brahmacharya, 4 It's a matrix. In that, there is other level of matrix, spiritual evolution in terms of kama karma, nishkama karma, naishkarmya, bhakti, all those things, various stages. So it's a huge matrix. In this matrix, he has gone through certain states of the matrix very clearly himself. Certain states of the matrix he has not gone through because he has no experience of that life. And he will see the students who come in that. It fills that gap in his skill, not in the understanding, realization. Becoming more and more variety of case study. That's why he seeks the students. There's nothing to gain. It's just that this picture becomes much more clearer and sharper. Not in the curiosity to achieve something,
Right.
just to apply to life.
Correct. A genuine curiosity.
Genuine curiosity. So for me, each new mind of the student is a very, very thorough subject matter of study. I look at various angles and understand various dimensions of that person very thoroughly, very curious. Some I understand, they fall into a picture. Some special cases come. I look at that as in the view of a scientist. What do I mean too simple. For a master, student is a patient, a case study.
Hope you don't make them guinea pigs.
In that case.
I am taking all glamour out of spirituality, okay? Make it very simple and mundane. Not very jazzy. What guys?
Sir,
Huh?
I think if I ask, you'll scold me.
Why? Yeah? Ask.
So once when you're done with one case study, do you get fed up of that?
I don't get fed up until that person realizes the truth. That's what I said. What is the definition of a master? Is infinite patience but limited time. Definition of student is limited patience, infinite time. You have a limited patience. I want enlightenment very quickly. And you have infinite time. All cooking is done in the house. Husband is taking care of kids. I have infinite time. Yeah? How much time you have spent with me talking about neighbor and less about spirituality? How many hours?
That's past, sir. Past is dead.
No, I'm saying I'm just giving realistic picture. Okay,
Sir,
the master has infinite time, but infinite patience, but limited time. I have patience enough to hear, and that too when I'm in Chennai, over the phone, 2 hours about how to handle the neighbors.
you were in Chennai.
Right? So, for me, I'm just trying to understand with this. How can this trivial thing bother you so much? I try to point out it's so trivial, but it's so important for you. Your life is depending on that hanging on the thread for one smile of the neighbor. Okay? I'm saying what a trivial thing this girl is for spending all her lifetime on that. Okay, I have hopes that at least she'll realize the trivial and come to some real natural things. So why I am patient for 2 hours is I am trying to understand what is that interesting thing about reality. And you think Guruji is consoling me, Guruji is giving advice.
Yeah, that's what now I have understood when you said case studies.
So each new case study becomes very interesting for me. And what entertainment do I have in life may tell me. Somebody asks some nice question, I can answer. Now all of you have stopped asking questions. Okay, I have confused you so thoroughly. Your all questions have stopped. And any question you ask, you say, you ultimately go, you give Guru this answer yourself actually. If when somebody else asks the question, you will be able to give answers. So somebody asks a new question, I am very happy. And some new case study comes, I am very happy. ನಿಮಗೆ ನಾವು ಇಂಟ್ರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಲ್ಲ ಹೊಸ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಬಂದರೆ ಅದೇ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ಸು ಅದೇ ಡಯಾಬಿಟಿಸು ಅದೇ ಸೇಮ್ ಡಯಾಬಿಟಿಸ್ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ ಸೇಮ್ ಎವ್ರಿ ಟೈಮ್ ಯು ಕಮ್ ಯು ಗಿವ್ ಆಲ್ ದಿಸ್ ಡಯಟ್ ರಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ ಕಮ್ಸ್ ವಿದೌಟ್ ಬಟ್ ಇಟ್ಸ್ ಗುಡ್ ಪ್ರಾಕ್ಟಿಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ಯು ಅರ್ನ್ ಸಮ್ ಮನಿ ಔಟ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ ರೈಟ್ ದ ಮೋರ್ ದ ಪೇಷಂಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಮೋರ್ ಮನಿ ಇಸ್ at least you want some new entertainment patients. But unfortunately, in spirituality, there's only one problem. Manifestation is many.
Many?
The symptoms are many, but root is only one. The root, adnana, ignorance. So the challenge of the master is how to get to that ignorance by removing the clutter the person has. Okay. How to make the person focus from the superficial to the root of the problem. That is the challenge. That's the skill. But otherwise, different case studies are not different actually. All are same. It's called bhavaroga. It's only one problem. Ignorance, adnana, atmanana. Symptoms are many. Some bhavaroga becomes a roga for the husband, sometimes it becomes wife, for himself, for the society, for anybody it becomes a roga. But root is same. So when I say many case studies, there are no many problems. There are only one problem. Atmanana is problem. Symptoms are many. And the ability of the people to go back to the root of the problem is less because they are stuck to superficial. To shake the superficial and to take it to the root of the problem is the challenge of the master. That's the biggest challenge. Sometimes how much amount of shaking you do, still they go back. Naai mara donkey da puna alle sujodita irtare. And the master is patient enough to again bring it back.
So that's what you meant the other day when you were talking about yogi going up and coming down, so they can keep falling.
Still these vasanas are there, impressions are there. They get dragged. One part of realization, actually side effect of realization, is this mystery of spiritual life is gone. It becomes a clarity. Otherwise it's so much mysterious. Right? The more mysterious, more curious is, more exploration can happen. Once you get a realization, this mystery disappears. Now it becomes like a clear this thing. No more mystery, no more magic in that. Simple, straight understanding. See what happens to a master. Most of the people come not because of spiritual issues. They come for problems of life. Problems of life can be very simple, very disturbing. Marital issues, job related issues, losses. It comes from various disturbed conditions of mind. People who come from genuinely for spiritual quest are very few and rare. Most of the people come with their day-to-day life problems, which are very important for them. So the challenge of a real master is gradually give solutions to their day-to-day life problem in the hope that they come out of the day-to-day life problem and start looking at the deeper aspects of life. There a lot of time is spent. Deeper aspect of life is very simple. But mind doesn't go there. Mind is always stuck to superficials. Mind seeks miracles. Mind seeks supernatural. Okay, mind seeks magical solutions. People come to the master in the hope that I'll get some magical solution. There may be some masters, I don't know. For me, the life has logical solutions. Very clear understanding. Get to the root of the problem. Okay, but people have expectations of that kind. So to get all this clutter and get to the root of the problem, which is spiritual awareness, is the challenge. People don't have a background of spirituality, or they have a distorted view of spirituality. They have a distorted understanding of spirituality. By media, by books, by anecdotes. To remove all the clutter, get down to the root of the problem is the biggest challenge.
See, the other day you were also saying it's also a matter of evolution, rather peaking of energy. They are associated. So, when we're talking of Viveka, through which you're dropping the truth and untruth, or rather clearing them up, and then devotion, which is how is it going to affect the energy system? See, what you are dropping or what you are clearing out is a concept in the mind. There is some amount of energy related to that, in the sense that when you're processing something, you probably are employing more energy versus less energy. So can you clarify? I don't know whether I'm making my question clear.
No, the question is very clear. Answer is also clear. It takes 1 hour. It's okay. The answer is also clear. Question is clear, answer is clear. Right? What is a block in our life? What is a block in the flow of energy in our life? It's only our concepts. Okay. So for example, if you believe that you get a lot of money in America and money is important for me, you will go to America. If you believe that America is a land of immoral people, it's not worth going there, you don't go. It's a concept. When the concept is there, the concept either blocks the energy or channelizes the energy of your life. Right? When I say not energy, dancing and this thing and all, the direction of your life, the movement of your life. Right? Why did you go to America?
To earn.
Earn.
Yeah.
So if you believe that earning in America is adharmic for whatever reason, will you go to America?
May not have.
May not have. So your concepts and mental view will determine the flow of energy in your life.
Right.
Okay, not the energy, just energy bubbling with energy, jumping with energy.
Right.
The direction of movement of your life will be channelized because of your concept.
Correct.
There are 4 different types of energy in human being. The physical, the emotional, the intellectual and the spiritual. Each of them can get blocked or cluttered because of various reasons. The physical energy, what you have, has certain limitation. It is dependent on the food you take and exercise you do. It makes a difference whether you have 6-pack ab or weak muscle. The physical energy will be different. What type of food you take also will determine physical energy. Understand? The amount of time you can spend on a work. Correct? The physical energy is for that particular day. The amount of food you taken and the amount of exhaustion you can happen. What about emotional energy?
The kind of thoughts you're having. And
why are you working in the office?
I think for the sake of security. There is
What security? For whom?
primarily for this operators.
What about your wife?
I think that you start assembling other
What about
security.
family
Yeah.
and children? You have emotional attachment to them.
Yeah.
For that you do.
Yeah.
Physical energy gets exhausted in one meal and one day, but emotional energy keeps you going for working, job, for longer time.
Yeah.
Which energy is longer, stronger?
Emotional.
Emotional. Understand? These are subtle aspects of energy.
Yeah.
Right? Emotional energy keeps you going. Even after exhaustion, it keeps you going. Take rest and move.
Yeah.
Or don't take rest and move also.
Yeah.
Right? So for example, a house is on fire. The mother is coming from the office. She's exhausted. She'll break open the door and bring the child out,
Yeah.
risking her own life.
Yeah.
Which is this energy?
Emotional.
Emotional energy. Right? Then there is intellectual energy, which is slightly greater than emotional energy. It gives a direction to life.
Mm.
Emotional energy keeps you moving.
Mm.
Intellectual energy gives a direction to life.
Mm.
Okay? What you believe, what you understand of life, it gives a direction.
Mm.
So, your life direction, whether you're going this way, emotionally keeps you going. But which direction you go will be intellectual energy, guided by intellectual energy.
Mm.
So, what is your direction of life?
Yeah, personally, seeking ultimate liberation.
That is set by intellectual energy.
Mm.
For somebody, ultimate liberation is nothing.
Mm.
For somebody, ultimate liberation is money.
Mm.
For somebody, ultimate liberation is name. So, that comes from the intellectual direction.
Mm.
So, which is of the stronger of this?
Intellectual.
So, intellectual gives the direction to the energy flow.
Mm.
Emotion gives the force to the energy flow.
Mm.
Physical gives the ability to execute.
Day to day, tactical. Mm.
Right?
Mm.
So, tactical, operational, strategic.
Mm.
This is life energy.
Mm.
Understand? So, intellectual energy gives almost direction to your entire life.
Mm.
Emotion energy gives a direction to your life until your responsibility, emotional responsibility are fulfilled.
Mm.
Physical energy gives your life to the duration of the energy is there.
Mm.
But each of them supersedes each other.
Mm.
Tomorrow you may not have job, you may not have work for other things.
Mm.
But intellectual energy keeps going you for seeking.
Mm.
And there are more and more subtle energies.
Mm.
Right? And there are more powerful energies also.
Mm.
To give an example, physically Indians were threatened during British Empire. Physically. Britishers had all the guns, the forces in the world. The physically is an insecure feeling which Indians had.
Mm.
What changed was the feeling of country being equal to the mother. Vande Mataram.
Mm.
Okay. So Vande Mataram is emotional energy. A tremendous amount of emotional energy was unleashed in the country.
Mm.
Vande Mataram. So mother is being shackled. So that was the emotion. And when the emotions rise, it's difficult, the fear of physical goes down.
Mm.
Okay. The mother is able to pull out the child in the fire because of emotional. Her own physical need, security becomes secondary.
Mm.
When the emotional energy rose in India, because of the equating of country with the mother,
Mm.
then a tremendous wave of energy spread across India. This happened during freedom fight, and this happened during Bhakti movement in the 15th century. Bhakti movement in the 15th century, what happened was that was the peak of all this Islamic rule in India. Everywhere, anything to do with Hinduism was either destroyed or threatened in life. Then during that period, the Bhakti movement started in India. Actually, in real Bhakti movement started in India around 14th century and 15th century. The type of Bhakti what you see today. The person to start that was Chaitanya Prabhu. Actually, he was influenced by Madhvacharya in South India. So what happened was West Bengal was ruled by all this Muslim this thing, and anything to do with Hindu was very threatening. Hindus had to pay extra taxes, and practice something with Hindu either threatened survival. So what happened was this person jumped into the street with chanting of name Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Soon it became people got emotionally attached. It became mass movement, and nobody could control that. So when the emotions rise, energy in motion rises. It becomes much beyond the physical energy. The physical threat becomes less important compared to emotional surge. Now I am speaking of the emotional energy which is given a higher direction, higher positive. Whether it's country or bhakti, devotion, they are giving emotional energy. That becomes much more powerful current. Then comes the intellectual energy, the clarity of thought. Okay, that sets the direction of life, direction of humanity. For example, there was a point of time in human history when people believed the world is flat. They were not doing any exploration because you may fall off the world into the Netherlands. So somebody comes with the intellectual idea that Earth is not flat but round. It's called paradigm shifts. And there are a lot of discoveries take place and world history becomes changed because people come, they become, they colonize, the whole thing. The intellectual direction is one. And that direction sets for thousands of hundreds of years. Emotion you cannot sustain for a long time. Okay. So that intellectual energy is science and technology, belief in science and technology. That sets the law of motion. That the intellectual energy is what was communism, so-called communism, social revolution, the intellectual clarity, the rise of the what you call as the working class. That gets set a direction until that idea got exhausted because of the natural condition. Right? Communism collapsed. Then the idea of capitalism. So these are all ideas, intellectual energy. It sets the mass movement. Mass, what I guess, energies which will channelize the emotional energy. Right? It starts a revolution. The idea of working class. Right? Women empowerment. All those things sets up, gives a direction to emotional energy. And that's where Russian revolution happened, communism. Revolution is emotion, but direction to that is intellectual idea. The emotions will not last long. After the exhaustion of the emotional energy, it will stop. But intellectual energy keeps giving direction. So communism died, but the idea of communism will keep on surviving in some way. The thought process, right? Same thing happened in India. Now the emotional energy is there, but still the people are threatened. Okay, the British had the guns, British had the army. So how do you overcome them, overthrow them? Then there was a very novel intellectual idea was there, ahimsa. So you may have guns, but the gun is useless against me if I am non-violent. You may have biggest tanks on you, but if I am not violent, how will you kill me? What ground you will kill me? So very, very sharp intellectual shift that British may have the mightiest army in the world, but the army is useless if you are non-violent. This was a shift, fundamental shift which changed the Indian movement. So there is a physical energy, there is emotional energy, there is intellectual energy. Okay, so these are the different level of energy. Each of them are subtle and much more larger. Then beyond the spiritual energy, intellectual energy, there is a spiritual energy. Intellectual energy also, ideas will get exhausted. The idea of any idea, big idea, will become over a period of time, it will exhaust itself. Even though it lasts longer compared to emotional energy, it lasts. So the idea of communism went off. The idea of capitalism also may die. Right? Some of them will be replaced by new ideas. Whereas the spiritual energy lasts for a longer time. What is spiritual energy? Is a different understanding and worldview of life compared to other lower level worldviews. The spiritual energy is a worldview where world is one whole. All relationships in the world are interconnected web of relationships. Relationships go deeper than the superficial understanding of life. Anything I do will affect the whole. An individual has the ability to change the whole. Individual is empowered as in the image of God. So these are all spiritual clarity. It's of course intellectual clarity at a certain level, but much more subtler than what intellect can grasp in the normal course of life. So now this sets in the energies, both intellectual, emotional, physical, which will last several centuries. or several millennia. So what Buddha did about 2500 BC or whatever is that, 2000 years back, the energy will keep on flowing, inspiring people, guiding people. It guides intellect, it guides emotion, it guides physical work in various ways. What Krishna was influenced over millenniums. What Christ was influenced people over a period of time. These are spiritual energies. So each of these energies are more subtle and more this upsurge. And impact is also more holistic and deeper depending on how energy is used. Intellectual energy sharply can be used for destruction of the world. It can be sharply used for upliftment of the world. Spiritual energy can definitely not destroy, destructing. So these are subtle and subtle of energy. So while I say evolution or enlightenment, I am always saying that it's related to the highest quality of spiritual energy and highest clarity of awareness. These two together are a hallmark of enlightenment. It doesn't mean that the person is energetic means he jumps and sings and dances. It means that his ability to influence the current of his life.
But how come there is a physical change?
It happen, no? Okay, for example, have you seen people who are depressed?
Yes.
How their faces is?
Long and...
The mind affects the body,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Understand? The clarity of thought affects the mind. Have you seen the person who is confused? What is his body language?
Subdued and...
Or procrastination,
Yeah.
right? Clarity of thought. So what I'm saying is, the subtle affects the gross.
Mm.
I just spoke about body language, but what I'm saying is life itself gets affected. The direction of life, the motion, the small things you do in life, they get affected by the energy, the deeper and deeper. Why do you think I'm able to answer all your questions patiently? Physically I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Because I've been taking class from morning. Okay? But I have the energy to understand and give a meaningful answer to your question. It's not physical, it's actually spiritual. My spiritual energy guides my intellect to bring clarity to your thought process. That doesn't mean that I have the ability to jump and dance and sing, the physical energy. But I have spiritual energy to keep this activity going on for next 20-25 years or whatever life is for me. And whatever I do to next 20-25 years will have a legacy left for next 100-200 years or 500 years, whatever is that. Whether it will pick up or not, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, whatever foundation I lay, it will have an impact. That's spiritual energy. It goes beyond the time and space of lifetime.
So essentially the body is becoming how nature intended it to be. In a way, nothing more than that. So the radiance you see and you know the glitter you see, all those are actually natural way of the body being, is it?
Again the question, reframe the question. What is the question?
Generally there is a radiance in evolved people.
The radiance is coming. What happens is there's a clutter gone. The psychological, mental clutter is gone. Intellectual clutter is gone. So the body takes a natural shape. Okay, the simple thing. You look at the child. How radiant the child is.
Yes. I was
Yeah,
having
right.
the same thought. Yeah.
The radiance of the child is not something supernatural. It's natural. There's no confusion. There's clarity. The people who confuse are the parents. The child is no clarity, confusion. So it has direction also. What it wants, it goes. So that gives the naturalness. The child looks very innocent. That's radiance. What is the difference between that and what the enlightened person is?
Correct.
I make spiritual mundane. It's so natural
It
thing.
is.
It is natural thing. It's not unnatural. It's not something supernatural. It's a deeper and deeper level of clarity. That will affect your life. That will affect your body. That will affect your environment. Henry? See, one who lives at the physical level is can influence only at the physical level, and also sometimes most of them are harmful effect. Emotion level, he is able to influence larger people, larger aspect. The person who is spiritual has a deeper and long-lasting impact on the whole. The ideas of Buddha, the ideas of Vivekananda, the idea of Ramakrishna Paramahansa inspired people over a period of time. Ramakrishna Paramahansa had a very handful of disciples when he lived. But as the time passes, number of people who are getting influenced, inspired by his teachings will keep on growing. That is the spiritual energy. That's why spiritual energy is like a Ganga Nadi Moola. So you say Rishi Moola and Nadi Moola cannot be such. Have you heard of this? Why?
Yeah, I thought of it.
The Moola root is a small stream somewhere, very hidden somewhere in the mountain. But that has become a big flowing stream, downstream.
Yeah.
Okay. So Nadi Moola, you cannot find it. You'll be this thing surprised. Is this small stream which is emerging from somewhere? Can it give rise to a big mighty river like Ganga? Ganga Moola is very small, right? So the small idea at deepest level starts influencing the world and changes the direction of the world. That's spirituality. So something is like equal to the tsunami. You've seen tsunami, right? At the seashore level, its waves are 100 meters, 200 meters, and it causes so much of havoc. But at the center of tsunami, there's no wave. Deep in the ocean, hardly 1 millimeter wave will be there. That 1 millimeter will builds up momentum and becomes a big wave. Spirituality, spiritual ideas, very subtle. Initially, it becomes very subtle and small wave. And as it gathers time, it becomes a huge wave, impacting a lot of things. Then if you look at this small wave somewhere, it's so gentle and so simple, innocent. And people miss it. But people are attracted by the big wave. They cannot find the Nadi Moola. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The mind is not subtle enough to grasp the subtle changes which have impact on the larger whole. They can only see the effect at the larger whole. But that by that time, it's already time has passed. People during Ramakrishna Paramahansa's time could not recognize who is he. Very small group of people. But as the time passes, it becomes a momentum, wave, bigger wave passes. Like that, life is like that. Because human mind cannot grasp the subtle, gentle, and very, what I'm saying is, deep, very subtle. It requires a gross, it requires jazzy, it requires a fancy thing to come. Spirituality is start as small and grows. Brings momentum. There's all other emotional, intellectual energy. They start pick up quickly and die. This will keep on, energy will keep on growing over a period of time.
Yeah, the concept of energy system I had was that of as a body.
There's a physical energy.
Right.
I'm not speaking of physical energy.
Mm.
Body also is physical energy.
Yeah.
The realized person has a different means you can see the calmness, you can see the peace in terms of physical energy. But his ideas all influence a lot of people.
Right.
Okay, it has that has energy is actually you are looking at individual. I'm looking at the universal when I speak of energy.
Mm.
Your concept is body oriented. My concept is universe oriented. Definitely, it has a body has some impact,
Mm.
but that is least of the impacts.
Mm. No, but when they say, you know, that spiritual progression is related to movement of energy through what are called chakras, what does it really then mean?
The
Because
chakras are actually I conducted 9 months class about how these chakras. The chakra is a roadmap of consciousness. Okay, it's, you have to take more it as a roadmap
Mm.
rather than something. Okay, each roadmap has certain milestones, certain level of blocks, certain level of opening which happens in consciousness. For example, Muladhara, root chakra, is related to the physical security, fear, which is the psychological blocks. So opening up that, becoming aware of that, opens up that all those energy centers related to individual. At some point, every individual becomes universal. Right now, the energy system has certain blocks. Not in the energy block as a pipe block. It's a conceptual or conceptuality or deeper level of clarity which blocks the energy. First of all, I mean take the chakras, Mooladhara, Swadhisthana, Manipura, Anahata, Vishuddha, Adna, Sahasrara. Mooladhara is related to fear, survival. Swadhisthana is related to desire, sex. Okay. Manipura is related to karma, action. Anahata is related to emotion, love. So Vishuddha is related to expression of life. Adna is related to the identity, idea. Sahasrara is related to enlightenment. Now each of this level, first of all you have to understand the various dimensions of that. There are various dimensions of that. That awareness is limited in each of these dimensions. As the awareness becomes more and clear, then the effect of that on our life also becomes much more clearer. That's the freeing of the chakras. So to give you an example, like let's take the simple example, Mooladhara chakra. So do you know, are you aware how fear affects all of your life? Are you conscious about it?
Yeah.
To some extent. Some extent you are unconscious about it. So from that unconsciousness it comes to consciousness, then your life direction will change.
Mm. Correct.
Okay. My role is to bring from unconscious to consciousness. That is the real role of a master. So that energy becomes freed.
Oh, so there is no physical.
It is also physical.
Is it?
It's also physical.
Mm.
Psychological affects physical, physical affects psychological.
Sure.
And psychological and physical is guided by intellectual.
Yeah.
Psychological, physical and intellectual is guided by spiritual.
Yeah.
They are subtle and subtle and subtle and deeper and deeper and deeper. And at certain level they are individual. At certain level they are universal. From individual to universal, from unconscious to consciousness, from unawareness to awareness. This is the role of spiritual journey.
So is it possible that there is a person without conceptual clarity, but with whatever the physicalities associated with it? Is it possible? No.
It's what happens is a distorted worldview within.
Mm.
That's why first of all, I said a sharp intellectual understanding of life.
Mm.
It's a philosopher mind. A deep love for the universe. These are together called bhakti and jnana. That such combinations are rare. There can be yogis who have a lot of distorted mental powers. Nowhere near related to relation. There may be people, a lot of devotees, actually world is full of devotees, but evolution may be stuck. There may be great philosophers, but understanding of life maybe, love in life may be easy. A holistic development has to happen. Also become distorted life. See, what happens is the physical distortion we can see, right? We can see somebody has no eyes, we can pity on that person. It's easier to understand. Somebody who has no legs, you can feel the pity. But let us say a person who has a psychological disorder. Okay, he has inability to function in a certain way. You cannot see that inability. So he's a useless fellow, you'll say. That person is useful to the extent of his ability. But in your view, useless. Why?
Because you're looking at the distortion. I mean,
You are not looking at the distortion. You don't have eyes to see the distortion.
correct.
Your eyes, you only see that he's working. Okay? For you, he's not a productive person. In your corporate record, he's a non-performer. Right? But what you don't understand is he has certain disability. Physical disability is easy to recognize. Psychological disability is difficult to recognize. Then for him, he is a useless human being. But he is a useful human being. He is trying to live his life to the best of his ability. And beyond that, he has no ability. That you can understand easily with a person who is blind. You have very sympathy for a blind person. But you don't have first sympathy for a psychological disturbed person. Because you can't see that deficiency. For you, it doesn't exist. It is not his problem, it's your problem. You understand? So, what happens is, like this, a subtler and subtler level, the deficiencies you cannot understand. It becomes very, very difficult. From physical difficulty to psychological difficulty itself becomes very difficult to understand. How about spiritual worldview? How about intellectual distortions? They are very, very subtle. Right? So what happens? Our ability to understand life becomes distorted depending on our wisdom, clarity. So if you say a person has only energy movement and the clarity is missing, then his life, worldview will be very, very distorted. Okay?
But theoretically, it is possible.
Yeah, it is possible. But then the energy is not guided.
Correct.
Isn't it? See, what I said is each level of energy requires a different level of guiding. The physical has to be guided by psychological has to be guided, intellectual has to be guided by spiritual. Now what you are saying is somebody has a very psychological energy. Can he have? There are so many people, mad people in the world, right?
Yeah.
And they become emperors, they become administrators, right? They massacre people, they kill people.
So there has to be a certain physical aspect to their energy.
They have.
Yeah.
But what is missing is the clarity of intellectual, the spiritual is missing. So can there be a physical aspect of energy? Yes, it is possible. Can there be psychology aspect of energy? We are not guided by this thing? Yes. But it becomes very distorted. It disturbs the whole world. Don't you see Hitler had a lot of energy? Right? He unleashed a wave of destruction. He had energy. He had a mesmerizing ability. His speech was, people used to stand, the people were mesmerized by his speech. Spellbound when he speaks. There are all abilities. Now the question is, he had a sharp intellect also. But was that intellect guided by subtle spiritual energy? Not. So, lower level energy can be there. But you have to understand the difference between these energies. Which is of the stronger? Which is stronger? A flower or a stone?
I think a flower.
Stone is stronger. Stone can crush a flower. Right? But flower is stronger because it's not as strong as a stone in terms of physical strength. The flower has the power of life, stone has the power of death. Understand? So similarly, the people with lower level energy are like stone. They have the power of death. Whereas people with this higher spiritual energy, they are subtle and weak and meek, but the energies of life. In no way Buddha was as strong as Hitler. No way Christ was as strong as his crucifiers. But theirs is the energy of death, the energy of stone, energy of ignorance, energy of darkness. Whereas the evolved person's energy is of wisdom, the light, which is subtle, life-giving, life-nourishing. Whereas other energies are life-destroying. So your question is whether the energy change can be there? Yeah, it can be there. But the question is that energy change is channelized for a holistic purpose? No. It can be destructive, which is in by and large cases. And did I answer your question? Okay, pleasure. Okay. Tell me how I am able to answer these questions very clearly. As you asked the question, I have not thought deliberate on these questions, okay? Your question come, I give the answer. How is it possible? Am I putting in logical sequence?
Yeah.
Am I putting in clarity?
Yeah.
Am I leaving it in anything ambiguous?
No.
Am I bringing in something superficial?
Nothing.
Am I bringing something called believe me because I am so and so?
No.
So how do I am able to do this?
There must be inherent wisdom.
That is because